Welcome to Tiny Hands Big Dreams, here on the homestead in southern Ecuador. Cacao. You ever seen these? These are cacao fruits, Theobroma cacao. This is where chocolate comes from. Most people don't realize that. They're fruits. They grow on trees. Now, we're in southern Ecuador, and I can tell you that only 10 or 15% or something of all the chocolate in the world comes from here, but it's the best chocolate, what they call fine chocolate. Flavor chocolate in some literature. The rest of it's grown in Western Africa, which is what you're used to in most candies and things, and it is a lower grade. Now, we're going to do a couple of things with these. One, we're going to eat them, which we're not eating the chocolate part. We're eating the fruit, and the fruit is delightful. And I'm gonna crack those open and show you. I'm going to show you the tree. They grow in a bizarre sort of way. Footballs sticking out of a trunk. Let's just go see it. Learn where your chocolate comes from. These grow like this. Cacao is called cauliflower, where literally things just grow out of the old wood and like the bark and the trunk, and these will sprout sometimes many, which is apparently a normal thing in the tropics and a very unusual thing in a temperate climate. It literally is like a football growing out of a tree. Now, to see if they're ripe, you come across and you take just a little nick out of it. If it's green, not ready yet. You wait for it to go kind of flesh colored, and then it's ready. Let's go look at some others. So this tree grows the yellow ones, which is a different variety. They start out green, they turn yellow, and they get big and ripe. There's a lot of them. Little footballs just growing out of the trunk. What a weird thing, right? Anyway, they like shaded understory. They like trees above them. They're not full sun sort of loving creatures. They do pretty well in a nice humid environment. The Amazon basin is sort of home to them. Crazy weird things. But chocolate, this is where chocolate comes from. But it's so far removed from this that like there was a thing in Africa where they went to the fields where they've been raising them for years, and they gave chocolate to the farmers. They'd never had it. They've never tasted anything like it. They didn't know what it was. They're like, that bitter stuff that we grow on trees that you pay us money for? Yeah, because it requires a process to sort of get it there. Now, it's not like an adulterated chemical kind of thing, but it's, you got to do some work to it. Let's go do a taste test. The big reveal. Which one do we cut open? Eeny, meeny, miny, this one. So when you're cutting these open to harvest, some people will do a karate chop because they're trying to be macho on camera. It hurts your hand. These things are... This is hard. You could kill someone with this. But it is important, if you use a knife, not to go through all the way. Now, the rind is very tough. But you don't want to damage the seeds inside. Doodly doodly doo. See that? Isn't that crazy? Ooh. Okay, alien looking thing. But these seeds, it's the pulp on the outside. Some people say they taste like sort of a citrusy melon. I go straight to like tropical fruit, like blend mix thing. It's complex and interesting. And that's just a little bit of white fruit that's on the outside, which is literally there as the thing that it needs to ferment, which makes some of the precursor flavors later of actual chocolate. This is a fermented food. So once they come out of here, you would take these and put them in a vat to ferment for a couple to 4 days, depending on the variety. They differ. There's a paper shell that protects the actual chocolate inside. So you're not gonna hurt it. Now here's one that I nicked. And you can see that this is purple. Now these will range from a very dark purple, this is on the darker side, up to basically white. And they'll vary even inside the same cacao. So if I take this other one, we're actually going to plant these. And you can do that to propagate them. But they don't store. Sounds pretty similar. So even though this is a yellow and it should have had a lighter colored seed, they cross-pollinate very rapidly. And there's a little biting fly thing that is like the preferred pollinator. And that affects the flavor somewhat of the chocolate. If you get a true, is it the criollo, which just sort of means like the natural wild one that's existed forever, that hasn't crossed with the, there's a bunch of different cultivars. And if you get one that hasn't ever crossed, you'll literally get white seeds that come out, and that's just sort of cool and interesting, and is apparently a much finer grade of chocolate, but it's almost unheard of to find it because it so readily cross-pollinates. It's delicious. I have to save the rest for the kid, otherwise I just sit here and greedily eat them all. So it's sort of interesting how these are done. So yeah, so you're going to ferment these, you're going to gather these up. It's a wet ferment, 2 to 4 days. Around here, because a lot of it is the variety that doesn't require a lot of ferment, they kind of don't. They kind of just harvest them. They put them in a bag while they're harvesting them for like the day. And then they put them out on the roads. This is really sort of like weird to me. I guess I saw it in India. The roads and the sidewalks are really just used for drying of coffee, cacao, sometimes corn. And so they're just right on the side of the road. They'll put out some bushes or rocks to like block part of the road. You have to go around them, and there's just like cacao spread out in front of somebody's house. It's sort of the way that people do it, and that's how they dry it. They don't really ferment them. The criollo varieties sort of self-ferment. They only needed 2 days anyway, and they really get a day and a half. Seems to work out. And this is considered the better chocolate. That's the funny part. We watch at the big market, there's a buyer there, shows up in a big truck, and they have big sacks, and people line up to sell them all of their little bags of cacao in various states, and they pay out for it. And the prices are going up. There's more and more people doing it. The price of cacao is steadily marching upwards. I don't know that chocolate's ever going to go out of style. So that's sort of an interesting tidbit. But the state that they do it, it always concerns me. Like dogs will walk, or chickens play around while it's like drying things. Now it does get baked. So after you've dried it, you ferment it, you dry it. And once it's reached a dry state, it's a little more stable. It can be shipped, and then you're going to roast it, much like you would roast coffee. So you're going to roast it, and that creates it gets the moisture out, does more chemical changes. You get your Maillard reactions going on in there. There's a ton of different chemistry that happens. I can't go into all of it. Once it's roasted, you're going to break off the little paper shell. You have to winnow it. You have to separate the little paper shell from what's inside the seed, which is become almost chocolate. That is the precursor. At that point, it is a simple process of you take this whole inside of the seed and you're going to crush it and continue to mill it and crush it and crush it and crush it. There's machines that do this over and over and over with rollers, and they get it to a very, very fine, smooth consistency, and they warm it gently to drive off some of the volatile organic acids, which improves the flavor, takes the sharpness out, brings out some of the other things. You can get fruity notes, citrus notes, flowery notes. You can get all sorts of crazy flavors when you get into like super fine chocolate. You know, you get like the little like micro things. There's companies out there that do it. And that's sort of the interest of real original chocolate. But if you're not careful with a lot of the process, those things just end up becoming Hershey bars or Mars bars, and they taste like, it is what it is. It's better than nothing, but it's not as interesting as the real actual thing prepared in a fresh, proper way. So, chocolate. I hope you think about that the next time you go and try to buy some chocolate. I will say, Do not get any that have the weird ingredients in them. I'll put them on screen. There's 2 ingredients. I forget them now because I haven't seen them in so long. You don't want, it's a fake thing that they add to take the cocoa butter out of the chocolate and make you think it's real chocolate. It's endemic in the United States. If you get chocolate from Europe, it doesn't have it. From else parts of the world, the fine chocolate doesn't have it. It's my last final bit of advice. It's a world of difference. So enjoy, and see you for the next one.